Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Color Cubers, which is the new hashtag and name for this Color Cube series based on the Color Cube boxes by Sarah Renee Clark. You can find in my description box below more details and information about the Color Cube. This is an ephemera making challenge that is based on the Color Cube because it's just a really good way to sort of generate ideas for making ephemera, to have a nice little color palette. So if this is your first time, you can see a few more videos under Color Cubers hashtag. I'm going into box 2 today. We've been in box 1 so far, but box 2. So the way that I do this is I don't even really look. I just kind of choose a random card in the box. So we just do the magic, pull the card, and just get it out of the box. Put my little paper in here to hold my spot. And I'm seeing a fierce lion. Oh my goodness, we've got some warm colors today. A buttery yellow and tan and like a chocolatey color, dark brown and a black. So this is card number 444 from box number 2. Here are the hex codes and the color descriptions for those of you who might want to do a digital project. We have sand, peach, tangerine, caramel, dark brown, and black. So an interesting warm color palette. So now I need to go and stash dive and find the things that are in this color family. I will be right back. So I have pulled all these things together. This was a little more challenging than I expected. This peach specifically got me because for me it was more of like a yellowy tone, like a manila envelope, but a little warmer. So I did grab a little envelope because you could see it is a little more yellow than what they intend, but it's pretty close. So I've got lots of fun stuff here, but then I found this Victorian calendar picture that has literally all of the colors in it. I didn't want to cheat on the whole peach side of things. So in her dress and her gloves, there is that peachy tone, but it has all of the colors. I think the sand up top here and the yellowy peach, the orangey tangerine color, and then it's obviously got dark brown and black in her belt, in the letters, etc. So I've got those things and the envelope, and I also grabbed this so that I made sure that I was using that peach. It's like a little, I think this is from the Graphics Fairy. It's just some little peach roses. And I've also got this is one of my giant tickets. So this is more of an orangey color, like for the tangerine, but it's pretty close to the orange that we've got in the tangerine family. Then I've got for the brown, this is in the caramel tone. It's a burnt umber acrylic paint, and I want to do a bit of stenciling with it. That's what that brown stencil is there. These are some eucalyptus leaves that have been through a boiled book procedure, so they're quite dark brown and black. And then I have this bias tape that's a very dark brown as well. And I also have this little crow wing that was from a digital project I did a while ago, and I want to use it somehow. This is some Japanese paper that is black and like gold, which kind of goes into that peach tone again. It's like more of a golden peach. And we have this little acetate H, and that's my stencil, as I mentioned. So sorry I'm in voiceover mode today. I definitely somehow did not turn on my microphone while I was filming this, so I'm having to re-speak over it again. Every now and then, I just do something. Okay, so my base is going to be this black piece of paper that I embossed a while ago, but that's not really important. I'm just grabbing it from my scraps. So my thought was to do some layering, and I want to create like kind of a collaged in a few layers kind of tag. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down that ticket and that envelope and then decide, what do I want to do with this piece? Like, what focal point how should I cut the focal point? It's just kind of sizing it up here. And I'm just going to try to get my card back into the frame. Sorry guys, I know people like it when I keep the card in frame so you can see the colors. It's a little challenging because my the scope of my desk here has gotten a little smaller. I want to be pulled in though so you can see my work. It's always hard to know how far to zoom in or out. I get comments one way or the other no matter what I do, so I just try to like do the best I can. So now I'm thinking, instead of just the net, maybe I'll include those flowers because they're quite pretty. So we'll just kind of do a rough fussy cut around this and see how it works. I didn't want to speed this up too much because the video's not that long, so I'll just bear with myself here. I've been recovering from all the ick that I've picked up from my children this week, so sorry if my voice is a little gravelly. So I'm just going to layer this and see how that looks. I'm rambling on about something here. I don't know. Now I'm going to go into the crow's wing and decide how I want to use that. I think I'm going to try to make 2 wings out of 1 wing, so we can give her fun crow wings. Because she's the kind of gal who drops in for a set of tennis and then flies off when she loses and scowls at you like a crow. And now I'm going to take the eucalyptus and I want to put that in there too as like a layer on the wings behind her. They could also be Mickey Mouse ears, but we'll go with the wings. There we go. And I think that adds some nice depth. That H is just not really working. I think it's not going to be used in the project here. So I'm thinking at this stage I'd like to get all these layers, because I've got like 2, 4, 5 layers, now 6 layers. I'd like to get them all attached, but I want to do that with the sewing machine. I just want to stitch it down. Just trying to decide if I want to use those flowers. I don't think so. So I think I'm going to hunt around now for a little bit of fabric that's in the same tones. So I've got some nice black and gold fabric and some nice crackly black fabric that are just little itty bitty scraps that I keep in my scrap bag on the corner of my desk there. So I'm just hunting through it to find a couple things to use on the front of her collar to sort of create like a fabric collar, or like a fabric like section down the front of her dress. And I'm going to stitch with the sewing machine, just with a straight stitch right down the front of that, and that will just kind of put everything in place and it won't move around so much and make it so hard. So there it is, all stitched together, and I just have to clip the threads, not with those terrible paper scissors, but with some scissors that can manage to cut threads. Get rid of those threads. And then I have to come in and glue down the rest of the remaining layers that are still sticking out. Whoops, I just shot my leaf across the room. So that eucalyptus leaf, I'm just putting art glitter glue on the back of it, and I'll just pop it back in there. I also had some questions recently from a viewer who was watching one of my videos where I was gluing a leaf down to something, and they asked me, or I was sewing through a leaf. They asked me, how do you sew leaves onto things and they don't just crack up and crumble and, become nothing? So super good question. So the leaf I was using that day was a leaf from a beech tree. So leaves all have kind of different consistencies, thicknesses, veins, they dry differently. So beech leaves are really thin and they have very, very tiny veins. And cool thing about them is they dry really quite like paper. So they don't really crack and crumble a whole lot unless you specifically bend them to try to break them. And so I use them in a lot of projects. So here's a beech leaf, and I wish that I had the sound, because I was saying, hey, do you hear this? It sounds just like a piece of paper. So here I'm showing you have to fold it in half to break it. But if you're not, trying to break it, it's actually really good if you're to try to lay it down on something and you've glued it on and you stitch through it. It's actually going to behave really well. So I usually use glue stick, and I'm really generous with how much glue I put on the back so that it sort of saturates into the leaf and it kind of plasticizes it. So now what you've created is a leaf that has, been saturated essentially with a glue of some kind. And so whatever keeps that glue strong will keep that leaf strong as well. So I recommend like experimenting with leaves, because you're going to find that they all act differently, and you'll get an idea. Like, see, I'm bending the leaf there, but I'm not cracking it in half. They do have a good amount of endurance. It's not until you specifically crack it like that it's going to break. So when you're laying it flat on a surface, they're actually really reliable. They don't change a whole lot. So if you're looking to preserve the color, though, you do need to add something on top of them, like masking tape or a Mod Podge or something like that. That will preserve the color pretty well. I often talk about how I've had like a sketchbook since high school that I had for many years that I didn't really know a lot about, collage as a medium or anything back then. And I just glued a bunch of beautiful fall leaves to the front of a black sketchbook and put like masking tape on top. And like 20 years later, it still looks the same. So leaves are pretty durable. So we've got most of these layers down. I think I just have to glue the rest of the back layers, like the envelope and the tag or ticket. But I'm going to trim this down because I want to trim it into like a nice square shape. As much as I love that asymmetrical shape of the envelope and everything, I want to make this into a tag, so I don't want all the extra uneven edges and things. So I'm just going to straighten this out a bit. Just cleaning up my bits and bobs and getting rid of this guillotine. So then I'm just going to glue these layers down, as I mentioned. It's really nice to have something to hold all your layers, like that little bit of stitching. Makes it so much easier. I wish we were all more confident with our collaging, so that, we didn't have to like glue after we've laid out these beautiful collages. Because like, have you ever noticed that it's always your first layout that you did pretty much that you really love, and you're like, okay, now I have to go back, move it all, and like lay it down. Like, maybe if we were just more confident and we just glued as we were laying out our layout, we would actually find it a lot easier. So we'll cut this into a tag now. And it's funny, everything is so off kilter, but the tag is straight, but like it looks kind of off kilter because the ticket and the envelope are off kilter. It's quite an interesting like visual. I'm still trying to work that acetate H, and I don't think it's going to go on the project. So now I want to go ahead and add the kind of caramel layer using the paint. But I'm also thinking, I like that Prosser and Sons kind of like rounded border. So I kind of want to cut it out and put it on there somehow. I think it would look nice to have the flowers and the title, and also it would put the that light sandy color back into the project. So we'll just clip this out and see. Yeah, I like that as a layer as well. So we'll just glue that down. Then I will have to back the back of this tag. I was trying to decide if I want to keep that line there or not. We'll see. It might not matter because I'm going to be stenciling. So we'll just push this down, get all the glue nice and firmly laid down, and clip off the extra paper. Clean up my mess. Okay, so yeah, I like how that looks on there. It adds a nice kind of border, like a rounded border. I don't think I can use this anywhere right now. I'm just going to probably set it aside and stop trying to work it in. Same with the H. So I think I'll do my stenciling now. I just have to go and get a paintbrush. I don't think I have a paintbrush handy because I always forget to grab a paintbrush. Even though I have this little like paintbrush holder on my desk, all my paintbrushes are always like over near the sink where I've washed them, and I always forget to bring them back. So I'm just going to take a little break here and run away and grab a paintbrush and then come right back. So I'm not getting a palette or anything. I'm just going to take the paint right out of the bottle and just kind of tap it on through the stencil. This is like a sticky plastic stencil. I have no idea where I got it from. It's like a random stencil that I just found in my bin of stencils. So I'm just kind of looking through the stencil at where I'm going with the paint and adding it in sort of a few random places. I don't want to stencil like on top of the words too darkly, but I do want to cover a good amount of where I've got the stencil laid down. And we'll pull that up. Then I'm going to do a bit at the bottom as well to kind of give some continuity and like frame it in. Okay, so there is all the stenciling. So just lay this stencil down and get a piece of paper to wipe the extra paint onto. I always try to use up my extra paint this way, like it creates collage fodder, and you know, it's a good thing to not have it all stuck to your stencil or to wash it down the sink. I try to wash as little paint down the sink as possible because it's all microplastic going into our water supply, and that's no good. So I think I'm just going to plan what I want to do with the tab. This needs to obviously dry. So I'm going to use a bit of that Japanese paper, and I'm going to also open up the bias tape. And I'm going to use like a couple pieces of this bias tape to create like a bit of a textured tab for the top of the tag. I'm just trying to open up the bias tape because there's usually like 4 times the width of what you see in the fold. Those of you who don't sew, you may not even really realize the point of bias tape, but it's basically for adding on your edges of your, you know, sewing project. So say you have a dress, you want to add that around the collar or the sleeve of your dress to have a nice stitched on kind of edge that doesn't fray. So I think the tab will look something like that. But first I need to do a bit of drying with this paint. I'm going to grab the heat gun and do that off camera. And then when I come back, I will add the tab and everything. So I've done the tab, done the stitching, it's all dry. I added that little piece of crackly black fabric there too, underneath the pieces of the seam binding or whatever, bias tape. So the tab is kind of off kilter, which is fun. And I really like how this came together. Again, the color cube has sent me to, you know, on an adventure I never expected. So I'm happy to be doing these projects. I really think they're like expanding my creative like possibilities. And yeah, so I will post some pictures on Instagram so you can get a better look at the project. This is again card number 444 from box 2. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and have a great day. Bye for now.